Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is the 9th of February, year 2023. Time is almost 5 minutes over 9 o'clock in the evening time. Behind the recording device and the microphone that is detachable in this case is your host, none other than David or Dave. You can even call me Fleaman. Are you serious? Because the BOLHA in my username, if I directly translate it, means flea. But let's leave that aside for the moment. So yeah, I have managed to survive unscathed the events that have transpired in the last 2 years, which we cannot really openly talk about on this platform, but we do know, of course, now as things are becoming revealed and everything is coming into light what it was really about, but that's not the topic of this video. Blah blah blah. Anyways, as you can see, the setup is a bit different than usual, so we're not going to be taking apart something in this video tutorial, doing a disassembly, a teardown, or I'm going to be making some sort of a presentation of a commercially available product that you buy in the store, or something that I made, fabricated, or modded. So nothing of purely mechanical, purely electrical, or the mix of the two. No circuitries are going to be involved. Nothing of metal, wood, or plastic. Nothing of that nature. But the approach is still going to be analytical, technical, but we're going to be swimming in the waters of my favorite category or subject, which is conspiracy theories, theories being in brackets. Basically, I wanted to make this video on Edward Leedskalnin, I'm definitely pronouncing that right after the Phil Schneider video, which got excellent response, views, likes, comments. Basically, I appreciate everybody that partook in the discussions in a civil manner, or those who just added your input, your insight on what that was about. Thank you very much.
No one cares.
But as usual, I didn't find the time, but there were also other restraints that prohibited me from making. Basically, when I was doing the research on him, I think it was well over 10 years back, somewhere around 2012 or so, I came across an interesting photo of him, which at that time definitely piqued my curiosity. But considering I didn't have the knowledge that I have now on acoustic, levitation, electrogravitics, and similar sciences, approved or non-approved, I couldn't really make a video about it or add my insight in regards to that photo, even though, let's be honest, somebody already beat me to it. So the information is such that I'm going to be providing in this video is going to be sort of just filling out the blanks in regards to the research done by somebody else. But I'm going to make it a bit more interesting than those few lines of text that somebody else pointed out in another source. In the Phil Schneider video, I added a couple of sources, as I like to do. I have no problem citing other people's work or making references to other theories or ideas. I have no problem with being academically fair. These are also the videos that are referenced in that video. So what is this picture that piqued my curiosity? So, of course, obviously, we all know what the Coral Castle is. There are many websites on the topic of Edward Leedskalnin, the Latvian immigrant who built the Coral Castle single-handedly. But one picture definitely stood out 10 years back. But also after that, I was really trying to find it, rediscover it, and I was really afraid that it might have gone down the rabbit hole, or basically the memory hole, because ever since, you could say, 2017, a lot of websites, not to mention videos on YouTube as well, have disappeared or violated some TOSs, that's terms of service.
Bullshit.
But I was really lucky, or basically happy, when I found it, and the picture is also ironically quoted or cited in the source that I provide in the Phil Schneider video. So it is this picture. Here we have Mr. Edward Leedskalnin, the slim man, at work. So what would you say this is? Any theories? Okay, let's focus on 3 theories, and I'm going to tell you which one we're going to be dissecting. So depending on where you are now, currently here in Slovenia, we are still in the winter time, so it's fairly cold, definitely the mornings, even though the afternoons are, I would say, pleasantly warm. Of course, you are dressed well nevertheless. So if you're in the US, where you're having, or you had lots of snowstorms and other severe weather conditions, whether they were natural or artificial, not going to discuss that. You might say, or somebody would definitely claim, well, that's a very nice piece of firewood that would burn well in my wood stove or oven to keep me warm, or so I could cook myself a nice meal. Yes, very practical, but sorry, this is not the theory we're going to be talking about. So let's move on to the next one. Those who were blessed enough in their youthful years as a boy, and perhaps if your father made one for you, or you were ingenious enough and practical to fabricate one for yourself, you probably had slingshots, didn't you? And you would put pebbles on, and you would try to shoot or knock off tin cans that you would place like on your fence or somewhere else stationary and play with that. I hope you weren't using your slingshot to experiment on living things. That would be a very much a no-no. But sadly, I doubt that Edwards here, or Edward, would be running around his estate with a quite peculiarly large slingshot trying to knock off tin cans. So even this theory is not going to pass through the filter of what we're going to be talking about. Now, if you're a bit more, I could say, a gentle soul, a musician, regardless, amateur, starting, professional, well, you would definitely remember something. Some might even say, well, David, that definitely looks like some sort of a tuning fork, I say. And that is bingo. That is my theory, what this piece was used for, as a tuning fork. Whether this was used purely as a standalone tool or equipment, or in conjunction with Edward's Flywheel, I leave that to your thinking. I'm going to throw in a couple of bones your way, so that might fit together. But nevertheless, if we do a little bit of a deeper research or closer examination, even comparison to another source, another picture, image, shape, to his improvised tuning fork, we may discover something else and basically reaffirm this theory. But let's focus on this image for a couple of moments. So this protruding piece here, this looks like some sort of a hollowed out metal tube. Maybe it wasn't even hollow. In the Wikipedia page, it states that Edwards here used salvaged timber parts as well as various automobile or auto parts in order to conduct his work. So manipulate, cut, shape, carve those oolite limestone blocks that he then placed all around his property in any way that he chose. On the other source that I'm going to show you, it states that here at the end a piece of wire was wound, and where the other end went, well, that's a bit of a mystery. Whether it went directly to his flywheel machine or some other intermediate electromagnetic or purely mechanical device, and this sort of acted as a bridge between the tuning fork and the flywheel, that's another theory. Or whether this was just directly connected, I don't know, but this definitely gave him sort of variability, or even customability, it's not really a term, but nevertheless, in order to move this axle. This is an auto axle, by the way, to move this up and down or between these two sections of the tuning fork, or the wooden branches, basically. Whether this end was also fixated on this side of the branch, I don't know, but here it definitely was. So he could then move this up and down, and then perhaps generate different frequencies and consequently vibrations at the lower end. Now, why do I think so? Well, let me show you another picture that I said I will. We can see here two tuning forks, and between we have different strings that are connected in a specific configuration. Here it states it's the perfect fifth. So this hieroglyphic is part of a larger artifact. As we see here, Isis and Anubis, and this is in between them. So that's probably how this setup was used. But this is merely or purely speculation. Even here, this part, it looks like some sort of a metallic weight, perhaps. Here, this darker piece or section, maybe this is some sort of hole. Now, if I say or claim this is a metallic weight of some sorts, now this would again reaffirm the theory that he was using this as an actual tuning fork, because
seriously, that's trash.
If we look at tuning forks in regards to healing and so forth, you also have with the ones that have weights attached to them, and then you can move them up and down in order to get different effects. Okay. Because definitely here at the bottom, this definitely has to be a metallic O-ring of some sorts. Probably it holds the bottom piece or rod, preventing it from splitting or so. But this here definitely is a hole, because we can see the texture matches pretty much the wall. It's not the same as the branch color. Okay, but I want to point out something else as well. I don't like to be jumping between topics, but this definitely came as a new discovery just when I was doing this video. So between these two tuning forks, we have this interesting shape here. If you looked at it from afar, depending on your perception, you could say, oh, it looks like a distant four-leaf clover. Some would say it looks like the sign of the Red Cross, a bit distorted. Here is much more up close. But let's focus with this shape. Now if we look at Edward's Flywheel, one section, notice this, how this is shaped. It is very, very much similar to the shape on the hieroglyph or on the wall. So make note of that. And here it is. It looks very much the same, doesn't it? Interesting, right? When I claimed in the beginning of the video that my contribution or my part of the research is going to be just filling out the blanks or the missing pieces of some other person's study or research as such, even if it was just a couple of lines of text under a pic, I wasn't actually lying. So it's actually located in this source, but pretty much at the bottom, so you can fairly quickly miss it. So let's do a little bit of a quick scrolling. Here it is. I've also highlighted the text, which I think is important and pretty much confirms what I have been talking for the last couple of minutes. I really thought that when I couldn't find this original picture under all sorts of Edward's Leedskalnin websites that I was searching, I thought that I was never going to find it and make this video about.
Here we go.
Luckily I found it here. But ironically, this picture was also archived and used as a stepping stone under this source as well. Now I want to point out something else. So the wire that is attached to this auto axle goes somewhere. We know what is written over here, and I actually agree. So I think that the other end goes to some sort of mechanical or electromechanical generator. Because ironically, again, under the Phil Schneider video, I listed or referenced a couple of videos within the video itself, not only in the description part of the video text sources, but also within the video itself. One video that I definitely think is going to fill that missing piece. So this one, how to melt stones with sound, part 1. It's a Russian channel, also Russian video, because the author here at around the 620 mark, he explains how he was able to levitate various objects within some sort of a solid strand wire or mesh that he made, and also how he was able to cut or shape various stones. I'm not going into detail, but he basically just put a speaker in a tin can, sealed the other end, and connected the speaker to a frequency generator, and then drilled a hole through the center of the tin can, and then attached that solid wire to it. And then the vibration was being sent through the tin can directly onto that wire, and then he was just feeding different frequencies. That's all there is to it.
That is bullshit.
So I definitely think that the other end on this wire that was attached to this auto axle was connected to some sort of frequency generator. Might have been his flywheel doing all the work, or some other additional machinery that he had. And then this was perhaps even additionally moved alongside the branch in order to give the proposed or sought after frequency being generated at the bottom. But this is just speculation. What do you think about this crazy theory again? Am I onto something or not? Let me know in the comment section below. That's it. Let me know. I was ready to conclude this video and go on with the post-processing when I had basically a mid-flash, basically another theory which ironically negates what I've been saying throughout this entire video, but I still think it's important to include it because now I'm basing this theory off another source. So this one over here, how to melt stones with sound, part 1. Now I'm basically thinking something completely different, and let me know in the comment section if I'm right or wrong. Does the first theory apply or this second one, are both wrong? Let me know. I think that the Y-shaped branch wasn't a tuning fork, but it was merely sort of a large holder or adapter for the auto axle, because I think this was the main point or the main part that was important in his stone carving operations. Like I said, I'm basing this off this video over here. I think that this was placed on this branch, and because here at the bottom you have a hole, and this was basically confusing me. What was this intended for? Maybe Edwards tied another piece of rope to this and then positioned this on his larger tripod that he had placed on his side, and basically he did the carving or drilling with the auto axle, and he was just like, maybe he was holding the branch here and then moving it to different positions and using the end of the auto axle to actually do the drilling or carving. Again, completely negating myself, but it depends on which source are you using to then propose final solution. What do you think? Which theory is right? Let me know definitely in the comment section below. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked the video, if you learned something new. If you want to share it, I have no issues here. This has been David or Dave. Bye bye.